Is The Jungle Book still good? The Jungle Book is a platformer developed by Virgin Games and released on the Sega Genesis back in 1994. The game is based on the 1967 Disney animated feature film of the same name, in which the legendary Walt Disney sadly passed during production. During the production of the Jungle Book video game, David Perry would leave Virgin Games, going on to form Shiny Entertainment and begin work on Earthworm Jim. Now, I'm not saying his body of work can compare to Walt Disney's, but it's an interesting footnote nonetheless. Anyway, like many Disney games from the 1990s, The Jungle Book was met with positive reviews. Electronic Gaming Monthly scored the game a 7 out of 10, proclaiming, "If you can brave the many instant hits, The Jungle Book is certain to give you an enjoyable adventure." Game Players magazine scored the game an 8.9 out of 10, noting, "Detailed graphics, a catchy soundtrack, and solid gameplay keep you riveted." The Genesis version surpasses the SNES one in playability with its wider variety of weapons and better all-around layout and trimmings. Finally, Video Games and Computer Entertainment gave the game a 9 out of 10, stating, "The oldest cliche in the reviewing biz. If you liked Aladdin, you'll love The Jungle Book. It has everything that made Aladdin fun, plus a beefed-up difficulty level and more detailed gameplay. A superb game." So, is The Jungle Book still this good after 22 years? Let's dive in. If you're not familiar with the movie, the plot of The Jungle Book can be explained quite quickly. Baby Mowgli is discovered in the dense jungles of India by a black panther. He is then raised by a pack of wolves. After a few years, word gets back that a man-eating tiger has returned to the neighborhood. Mowgli's jungle friends then decide it's time to bring Mowgli to the man village to be raised properly by humans. The Jungle Book video game follows Mowgli's journey to the man village. Predictably, the first stage takes place in the jungle, and the game tells us to collect gems. How many gems you need to collect will depend on the difficulty selection chosen. On easy, you need 8, you need 10 on normal, and finally, 12 on hard. Each stage contains 15 in all, and there is a counter on the corner of the screen letting you know how many are still remaining on the map. This, of course, means The Jungle Book is a collect-a-thon game. You are free to roam about the entire level in any way you see fit, with your only goal being to grab the little red gems. Sometimes these are out in the open, sometimes they are hiding behind some leaves. Along the way, you'll also discover plenty of animals impeding your progress. Be it snakes, monkeys, or exotic birds, your path to the gems isn't always going to be easy. Thankfully, Mowgli can bounce on top of enemies or chuck an endless supply of bananas at them to wipe them out. Then, once you grab the prerequisite number of gems, an end goal is displayed on the screen. This is usually finding a specific character from the film. Find the character and the level is complete. After clearing jungle by day, we move on to the Great Tree. Here, the setting is changed up a bit, fitting a more savanna-styled environment rather than the dense jungle. In addition to the change in set piece, there are new gimmicks added in the form of warps. Pressing up will warp you to a different opening in the tree. They break up the level a bit, letting you move about the vertically oriented environments a bit more easily. Near the top of the Great Tree is also the Jungle Book's first boss, Kaa. For a first boss fight, this isn't too bad. Kaa has a hypnotic projectile that follows Mowgli around the screen. Simply do your best to jump over it and continue to fire your bananas. As you can see, Mowgli can also fire straight up in the air, which is insanely helpful. And the boss as a whole works within the confines of Mowgli's attacks and jumping abilities. Next, we arrive at the Dawn Patrol. Here, Mowgli can take a ride on the elephants through the level. Of course, this is just a gimmick because there are not enough gems along this bottom path to clear the map. This means it's back to climbing vines and jumping from tree to tree. I do have to say, The Jungle Book features some surprisingly excellent controls. Not only is the running and jumping predictable and responsive, climbing and swinging off vines feels very natural. There is no glitchiness to be found anywhere. You'll never get stuck on something or miss anything you could have sworn you grabbed. It works really well, and it's clear the developers put an emphasis on proper feel when working on The Jungle Book. After clearing the elephants, we make our way to level 4, the river. Again, Mowgli finds himself in the dense jungle. There really isn't much to say here, so let's talk about one of the biggest issues haunting the Jungle Book. The hit detection can be a real pain. While I love the fact you can jump on enemies, and it's logical since the maps have such a massive vertical focus to them, but at times the hit detection feels downright broken. Sometimes you'll think you're jumping on an enemy, only to land right next to them, and then take damage because you're touching them. Other times you'll take damage because sometimes these jungle antagonists have a few frames of animation where they'll damage you, even when jumping from above. In fact, very few of your deaths will be a result of missing a jump and falling down a pit. The controls are just way too good. Instead, most of your deaths will be from your life bar slowly being eaten away by some questionable hits. This is a shame too, because the game is paced perfectly and you'll rarely find yourself surprised by an enemy. There is always a visual cue letting you know trouble is ahead. This could be a snake dropping its head down or a monkey jumping up and down. You'll always see them ahead of time. It's just the act of jumping on them can be very risky. Now, you might be thinking you could always just hit them with your bananas from a safe distance, but this isn't really the case. Enemies' projectiles will travel through every obstacle on the screen, but your bananas cannot, and will be stopped by virtually everything on the screen. It feels a bit unfair if I'm honest, and puts a blemish on what is otherwise a well-balanced game. But back to level 4. After collecting the red gems, you must seek out Blue the bear. Play a little mini game where you collect fruit for points, and then we move on to the 5th level, Blue and the river. Here, you can hitch a ride on a floating baloo, which is essentially the same as the elephants. It's a neat gimmick, but adds nothing to the gameplay. You'll also notice 4 of the past 5 levels have featured the same exact set pieces, with minor tweaks to the color palette. Compared to something like Aladdin, which was developed by a lot of the same folks, it feels like a step backwards. Aladdin repeated a set piece once, offering up 9 distinct locales over 10 levels. Already in the Jungle Book, we have 4 shared set pieces over 5 levels. There are 2 levels with the word river in them, yet neither utilizes the river in any meaningful way. Instead, we are back to collecting gems in the jungle. Thankfully, level 6 comes along just in time, giving us another savannah-styled Great Tree level. And huts are introduced, offering a second way to warp around. Of the 10 levels offered in the Jungle Book, this is easily one of my favorites. All of my favorite elements are well represented, including a strong emphasis on platform jumping, in addition to a great vertical element with the vines and warping. Not only this, there are a ton of little hidden nooks and crannies, offering bonus fruit, additional weapons, extra lives, and red gems. Bouncing around the back of everything on the map, hearing the sound effects of secret goodies is a ton of fun, and gives you an excuse to hop around like a mad little jungle boy. Like the previous non-jungle level, there is a boss at the end of this level as well. 3 monkeys standing on top of each other behind a mask will wander about the stage, chucking fruit at you. They are invulnerable while hiding behind the mask, and you can only damage them when they reveal themselves. However, if you stay close, you can take them down without a problem. After this, they all split up, and you have to defeat all 3 parts one by one. These seem tough at first, but there is at least one safe spot on the screen, allowing you to attack 2 different monkeys while remaining free of any danger. After bringing 2 of them down, just move to another safe location to take down the 3rd. These safe spots do make the whole exercise challenge free, however, which is kind of a shame. Anyway, level 7 brings with it a 3rd set piece, Crumbling runes. Like all of the levels before it, jump, climb, and bounce around the level, collecting gems, and it's quickly over. However, it's worth mentioning the sound balance here is way off. The sound effects of the crumbling runes way overpower the background music, creating a borderline annoying phenomenon. This phenomenon is repeated in level 8. However, the crumbling runes gimmick is now literal, and you have to jump your way from platform to platform, slowly making your way up the level. Platforms will collapse, so you have to react quickly and confidently to your surroundings, or you'll fall to the bottom of the level. If you're lucky, you'll land on a platform and restart your journey. If you're unlucky, you die. This level offers a nice change from what has been a non-linear collectathon up to this point. The path to the top is logically laid out, and to the best of my knowledge, there is only one way to traverse up the stage. This level is another highlight of the Jungle Book, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just a sucker for platform jumping, but With controls this good and collapsing platforms requiring quick thinking and precise landing, I found myself having a ton of fun every time I got to this point. There is one blind jump, however, which is a total pain in the ass until you figure out the landing spot, but other than that, this is good stuff. The linear nature also means this is your best shot at nabbing all 15 gems found on the map. Grabbing all of these unlocks a bonus stage after beating the level. Here, there are no obstacles, only fruit and an extra life or two. I'm not sure if this is worth the effort of locating all 15 gems in a stage, but it's better than nothing. Level 8 also brings us what is easily the best boss in the entire game, King Louie. While Ka can be easily defeated by simply firing faster than he can attack, and the Witch Doctor boss thing featured a dead spot on the map offering a risk-free approach, King Louie has no such weaknesses. You have to straight up beat this guy. First, King Louie is invulnerable to damage while swinging his arms. This means you can't just spam attacks. Next, he moves from one side of the screen to the other, meaning no dead spots for easy hiding. Finally, his attacks are tricky to dodge. His first attack is simply throwing boulders along the ground. Just jump over these. His second attack is a bit tougher. He launches 2 bananas at you, but they are launched quick enough where you have to do a couple of half jumps to clear them. Try a long jump and you'll get smoked by the second banana. Finally, he'll do a handstand launching a 3-banana assault. You have to jump the first one just right so the second 2 fly over your head. Again, time it wrong and you're taking damage. What makes this boss fight so fun is it requires skill and dexterity rather than memorization. Louie telegraphs his attacks, each beginning with a distinct animation, giving you a brief moment to recognize the situation and react accordingly. It's another highlight in the Jungle Book, and I feel it deserves a special mention. Sadly, level 9 brings us right back to the jungle. While I appreciate the palette swap giving a nice nighttime appearance and some new enemies matching the night theme like owls and bats, there is no doubt this particular theme is starting to wear out its welcome. To draw an emphasis to this point, here's a section of level 1, level 4, and level 9. Yeah, it feels a bit lazy. As our journey comes to a close, we finally arrive at the wastelands. This desolate area is as bleak as it sounds. Nearly everything is dead, there are fires everywhere which must be avoided, and worse yet, there is a lightning storm. The lightning appears to be possessed as well, as it aims for poor Mowgli with each and every crack. The added lightning and fire gimmicks do add a nice challenge to the gem hunting, and the Wastelands is a worthy final level, and of course segues us right to the final boss. Here we have our showdown with Shere Khan. This man-eating tiger is the final obstacle between Mowgli and the man village. Now it is possible to beat this boss without taking a hit by carefully dodging the fireballs from the bottom of the screen, jumping over Shere Khan's smoke rings or whatever, all while carefully jumping from pillar to pillar, getting in attacks. But none of this is really necessary. Much like the very first boss in the game, you can win this battle by spamming, attacking the tiger quicker than he can hope to hit you. I'm not saying it's easy, as paying attention to which pillars you need to be on while also attempting to avoid projectiles while also launching your own can be tricky. But if you've made it this far into the Jungle Book, you'll probably be able to survive this boss with minimal attempts. Upon defeat, like in the film, Shere Khan runs away with his tail on fire, and Mowgli finally makes his way to the village, catches the eye of a local girl, and lives happily ever after. As expected, this is followed by the game's credits. I should also mention a few other gameplay elements before we wrap up. I briefly mentioned there were additional weapons in the Jungle Book. This includes some double bananas, a blow dart, boomerang, and an invincibility shield. While the extra damage output and temporary invincibility are both helpful during boss fights, I never use them during the normal course of the game. They function exactly like the banana, firing forward or up, and don't offer any tactical advantage over the normal banana attack. Perhaps if these had different attack patterns or allowed you to fire downwards or diagonal, these could have been more useful. Next, each level has a timer at the bottom. I can honestly say, after 20 years of playing the Jungle Book, I have never run out of time, ever. While there is a distinct lack of variety between many of the stages, with palette swaps used in place of new art, this freed up cart space for 2 other things which are in abundance. First, there are a ton of different enemies in the Jungle Book. It seems like everywhere you go, there's a new enemy you haven't seen before. From distinct types of snakes and monkeys to birds and bats, and even fish jumping out of the water. Things don't stop there, with flying squirrels, frogs, and even scorpions. All of these are well animated too, with a ton of frames of animation, really helping the screen come alive with life, until you kill everything. In addition to the animation, I also find the environments to be quite pleasing. While the Genesis has a notoriously low color count, the developers did a great job using a combination of careful color selection along with checkerboard-style dithering to create very smooth and rich environments. There is some line-style dithering as well, which I find doesn't look as good on modern equipment, but as a whole, the Jungle Book offers some very pleasing visuals. The second thing in abundance is sound effects. Nearly every enemy has a soundbite playing when they come on the screen or are attacked. When you touch the elephants, which act as checkpoints, they let out a yell. Monkeys scream, birds chirp, snakes spit, it's endless. Much like the animations, the constant sound of the jungle really helped the Jungle Book come to life. Speaking of sound, the Jungle Book's soundtrack is pretty great. The renditions of bare necessities, be it on the piano on the title screen or the softer notes played in-game, is awesome and extremely catchy. In addition to this iconic tune are plenty of other great compositions. There are cool jungle beats with plenty of great sounding drums, funky sounds with some great horns, subdued music matching the nighttime theme, and of course King Louie's famous "I Wanna Be Like You." It's all great stuff and avoids the cheap twangy sound plaguing many Genesis titles developed in the West. So, with all of that out of the way, we're finally ready to answer the question asked at the beginning of the video. Is the Jungle Book still good? First, let's get one thing out of the way. If you don't like searching for widgets in order to unlock the exit of a level, the Jungle Book probably isn't for you. For me, however, I really don't mind some of these more casual style platformers. Collectathons really gained steam in the late 90s, and the Jungle Book's collecting mechanics are quite tame compared to where the genre was headed in the ensuing years. Next, the gems really aren't that hidden. Even on the hard mode, which requires finding 12 of the 15 gems, isn't too insane. And I found myself regularly locating nearly all of the gems while making my way through the jungle settings. While finding 15 might be tedious, it isn't required, so it never becomes an issue. What is a lingering issue is the hit detection. I can't stress enough how annoying it is to think you are going to take out an enemy only to receive damage. Even after 4 complete playthroughs over the past week, this always felt like a crapshoot. The enemies don't seem to telegraph when they can't be jumped on, creating plenty of moments of hesitation. On the flip side, the penalty for dying isn't too harsh. Every gem you previously collected is still collected, and previous enemies defeated remain defeated. The Jungle Book has plenty of extra lives hidden throughout the levels as well, and despite some cheap deaths, my life stack always seemed to hover in the 7 to 9 range, safely distant from a dreaded game over. Sadly, I can't help but feel the Jungle Book could have been a better game though. The bright spots in the game, like the challenging platforming found in level 8, the cool warping in levels 2 and 6, and the fantastic King Louie boss, can make the rest of the game feel a bit vanilla by comparison. Still, despite some issues and inconsistencies in quality, I do find the Jungle Book to be quite good. It absolutely nails the most important aspect of a platformer, which of course is platforming. The jumping mechanics here are second to none. I never fell through a platform, never missed a swinging vine, and never got stuck in a climbing section. The controls simply work 100% of the time. The Jungle Book is also free from a lot of issues plaguing lesser games from the time. The background and foreground are always distinct, adding a sense of depth to the jungle settings, and also always letting the player know what is a platform and what isn't. While the Jungle Book features plenty of bottomless pits, these are never a surprise. The game requires just a single blind jump, and unless you get careless or reckless, you won't find yourself losing lives due to poor level design. I also appreciate the little touches, like the bosses actually having a life bar, which was surprisingly rare at the time. And I like how the stage introductions mimic a book, giving a nod to the origins of the story. So yeah, while the Jungle Book certainly isn't the best platformer of all time, it is extremely competent, mostly enjoyable, and absolutely still good.